Brandon here on Mark's login, so we can do the WebEx. Just a couple housekeeping items before we start. Be mindful of your background noise, please. Anytime you're not speaking, if you could mute yourself, that'll be the best for everybody. Also, as I kind of said in the email earlier, let's try our best to not use the chat. Only use that if you have technical difficulties. If you need to speak, raise your hand as Bob just did there. That helps. Or you can use if in the participants panel, there is a raise hand feature as well, I believe. Either is fine. So we'll just try we have a lot of people today. So let's just try our best to stay muted when we can and just unmute yourself when you're wanting to talk or need to say something. So Bob, did you need to say something?
Yeah, so I just wanted to let you know, Brandon, that we might have the chair of the Long Range Finance Committee might show up and ask to be, brought into the room for the discussion on the divestment of fossil fuels resolution. So just wanted to give you a heads up. I did ask Russ, but he was unable to make it tonight. Thank you.
I see we have Michelle here now too. Hi, Michelle. So that gives us 6. We know Ken's not coming. Why do I still think we're missing one more person? Who could that be? Do you have a list, Brandon? Do you know? 2, 3, 4. Oh, no, there's 7 of us here and Ken's not coming. And that's it for right now because we still have that other position open. All right. Well, then, is it 6 o'clock? Yes, it is. So I will call this meeting of the Sustainability Advisory Board to order on Monday, December 7th at 6 p.m. We do have quorum. We have 7 members of the board plus several guests, which is marvelous. The first order on the agenda is to approve the minutes from November 2nd. Those were available to us through our email. Would somebody like to make a motion to accept those?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
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 I should also mention that when we go to mute on this particular platform, if you hold down the space key on your computer, if you're sitting at a computer, if you hold down the space key, it allows you to answer. It takes you off mute for that second to say aye or whatever. And sometimes that's easier. So just so you're aware. Okay, well, Misty, the first thing on our agenda tonight, the first real thing, is our UWO student presentation that we look forward to this year. We were working with Misty McPhee, and she is going to introduce her team members to us. Take it away, Misty.
Thank you so much, Margie. First of all, thank all of you for letting us be here tonight. The senior SEM crew is small but mighty this year, senior seminar, and they had started they started the semester on Project A, and that fell apart almost halfway through the semester. And so they came up with the project they're presenting to you today. They came up with it completely on their own. They wrote me a proposal and have put the whole thing together. So this is a very, very mature and independent approach to their senior seminar. I will say that. So with that, I will introduce the 3 students. We have Elisa Reinke, Lisa Maroney, and Jacob Thompson. And I will, with that, pass it on to y'all. They need to share their screens. Is that right, y'all?
Yep, I am doing it now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Is everybody seeing my screen now?
It says it's starting to share content, but I'm not seeing it yet.
Yeah, I'm seeing a big white screen, but
Brandon, does she have the ability to share this screen?
It's saying that I am sharing. It might just take a second.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on my end, like to give permission or anything. So I would assume that it's just loading.
Okay,
Hopefully it works.
okay.
Give it a couple minutes here, or a couple seconds. And, I'll try to see if there's something I need to do here on the participants page or something. Yeah, the checkbox is selected that anyone can share, so that means that any of us should be able to provide content.
Well, and I see it says viewing Alyssa Reinke's application, but then it's a white screen where it says that.
I see
Yeah.
as well.
Did it have you select, usually I'm assuming you just have one computer screen in front of you?
Yep, but I did specifically select the internet browser I was using. I'll stop sharing and try and reshare it.
Okay, try again, yeah.
This is
Sorry, Tony, your connection's pretty bad. I couldn't understand what you said there.
I just indicated that on the screen. Oh, there she goes.
We're just sharing my whole thing, so. All right.
Go.
Cool. So as Missy introduced us, we're with UW Oshkosh. This is our capstone report. We'll just do our introductions real quick. So we have Lisa somewhere.
I'm here. I can't see the PowerPoint or anything. But yeah, I'm Lisa Marone. I'm a environmental studies major. I'm also the student sustainability director at UW Oshkosh.
Again,
okay,
I'm
I can see
Alyssa.
it now.
Okay, cool. Again, I'm Melissa Reinke. I'm an environmental studies and geography major. I'm a Green Fund member and the Geography Club president.
I'm Jacob Thompson, and I'm an environmental studies major.
And then many of you already know Dr. Missy McPhee, who is an amazing person in general, but also a faculty member at UW Oshkosh and our project advisor.
I'll pay you later, Alyssa.
I just want to make sure everybody on the board, you guys can see Alyssa's screen share. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, so our project summary. Overall, the idea was to explore areas within the Oshkosh's Municipal Sustainable Website tab. And what we ended up doing is we went through and removed, or we would like to remove incorrect, outdated information and links that are not working. And then we're also proposing to add new resources, new links, and any kind of information that we deemed would be useful in certain areas. And we'd like to try and rework some things to make it flow easier to understand, more user-friendly. We'll get to that in a moment further in detail. And the goal really is just to provide accurate and helpful information for Oshkosh residents by updating the Sustainable Oshkosh page to increase the use of it and hopefully overall increase the sustainability within the city of Oshkosh itself.
Okay, so I'll take over now. So we primarily are going to be focusing on the resource tab edit. As Misty has stated, we're a little, so we tried to condense our resources to something super beneficial right now. So this is just a screen grab of the Sustainable Oshkosh page. But what we're really focusing on is the resources tab, which that big red arrow is pointing at on the left. This is just, again, a screen grab of some of the details in that resources tab. It talks about things like energy, waste and recycling, transportation, water, land management, and food and recreation.
So our methodology for what we went and did is we went down the line for what she just showed you and clicked every link, went to every resource, and reviewed it to see if it's up to date, if it's useful, still relevant, or if it have proposed suggestions uh, that give information in detail, either more up to date or more user friendly. And we're hoping that we can really work with the sustainability board in order to get this progressed.
So kind of a blurry example of this is one of my tabs was the water tab. So the original water tab under the website has the Clean Boats, Clean Waters link. I put some comments under that about how it's working, the using water wisely and responsibly. So maybe I have some comments underneath that saying, is this as up-to-date information as we have? It's from 2013. And then I'll provide additional links under that I think maybe would be more helpful or interactive for the general public. Again, this is just kind of a big list of some of the links that we found. So you notice a lot of these are, some of these are going to be government websites, .edus, orgs. So like I said, one of mine was water. And this was just a really awesome link that'd be great for the public to have access to. Talking about their water footprint, calculating it, and what can they change in their daily life. This is something that if you know nothing about sustainability, it takes you step by step that can be really helpful to the public. Cool. And just some more links from waste management and recreation. And then we'll go in with Lisa. Can you see the screen yet, Lisa? Did we lose you?
She just said that she can't hear anything in the chat.
Okay, I'll just take over for her real quick, and she can come back when she reconnects. So we looked at a bunch of different cities, not just the Oshkosh site, to see how Oshkosh was doing on their sustainability page. So we looked at Ithaca, New York, and Minneapolis, which are some pretty big cities, especially compared to Oshkosh. And Oshkosh was pretty comparable. And then we look at other similar sized and local cities such as Fond du Lac and Appleton. Fond du Lac didn't have a specific sustainability section, and Appleton's was pretty small. So Oshkosh is doing great. So then we'll just talk about the benefits of this really quick. Updated information is valuable not only to local residents, but businesses, departments, when people know what they shouldn't be doing. That's always helpful. Regular website improvements provide accurate and easy to access data for individuals. If the easier it is to find information, the more likely somebody's to change. So that this can lead to the increased sustainability in Oshkosh in general. And then just a side note with that, the benefit of having the UW Oshkosh students doing the labor of checking these links and providing comments and feedback decreases the workload on the already overworked city departments. So what they'll simply have to do is look at the comments we have, like the water document, and then approve or reject or make comments. And then just kind of a in conclusion thing, it's always important to utilize community partners and experts in the city, and that's what we're getting with the relationship of the Sustainability Board and the UW Oshkosh Environmental Studies capstone. We're promoting sustainable design by making it easier to access this information. And then we always want to emphasize that connection and using of social media accounts, both city-wise and university-wise, will always help to promote that resource tab and sustainable solutions, which will increase the sustainability overall. And then that just leads us to any questions or comments. And I'm going to stop sharing so I can see people's faces.
Does anybody have any questions that they would like to address to the students?
Yes, I actually do. This is Mayor Palmieri. Thank you for putting that together. I know that it's probably needed some attention for a little while. And I guess one of my questions was about the water tab. I know you can't really pull that back up and go back to it, but how did you decide to choose that particular water website? And, what were your criteria? I thought the brief moment that I saw it, it looked pretty interesting.
So what I was doing, and we all had a similar, same exact methodology, is we were just particularly looking for things that seemed credible, whether that's a government site or something that's not done by like a biased business or something. No blog posts, really. We were looking for something that was educational and up to date and informative. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else have a question?
Mine's more of a comment.
Yes, Pat. Or no, this is Vic.
Yes.
Okay.
So mine's just more of a comment. So just some feedback. The reason why you probably didn't see anything or much for Fond du Lac is because they don't have an organization such as this. Theirs is a citizen group. They have a really great Facebook page called Sustain Fond du Lac. But just some feedback as to why you didn't see anything there. So that's about it.
Yeah, I live in Fond du Lac, so I just knew that the city didn't do it, and it wasn't, they didn't even have a link to that group, so it didn't really make it easy for residents to find.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I do have to say that they beat us on the urban beekeeping though, as far as getting the ordinance in. Yeah, and I believe that this website, and Margie, maybe I could be mistaken. I think Justin Mitchell and a couple other people worked on this website as kind of a volunteer project. So that was, I don't know how many years ago. So it's good to refresh and get fresh pair of eyes on this. Thank you so much.
Justin actually left the board in January of 2012, I believe. However, we have updated it somewhat since then. What we've done is different board members have taken it upon themselves, and help me, Michelle, if I'm remembering this accurately or not, but have found certain things on there that we said, oh my, we have to change this. And we've submitted that to whoever our current liaison with the Plan Commission was, who's then submitted it to IT at the city. I know on one occasion we hit a bad time, I guess. We waited about 2 years for an update, which was a little bit discouraging. So I'm very thankful that you guys have taken this as a project and have provided us with some updates, because obviously the IT department does not have time to deal with this, nor would they necessarily know what should be there or not. So it has to come from sustainability. And since we're all volunteers, we don't always make this our top priority. I'm kind of like responsible for some other websites and other things I do. And I have to confess, it's maybe not the very first thing on my agenda in the morning. So I see that both Misty and Pat would like to say something. Pat, you go first.
I think this is a really great project. I'm wondering, and you maybe already have done this, is this the appropriate place to put links to things like, so there's a food section, should there be links to information about the chicken ordinance and beekeeping, and so links to specific information about programs? And isn't there, for water management, isn't there some kind of credit for people who have a rain barrel or a rain garden?
Yep.
Yes.
Is this the appropriate place to put in those links, or are those our links already in, or?
So that's something that we've discussed too. I know we went through that water example really quick, but on there I have a comment of this would be a really great place to put the water credit. And actually, when I was going through and looking through the Oshkosh site, you couldn't get to where the information about the water credit was. So we passed that along, and hopefully that got fixed. The difficult part that we were having is like, I'm not necessarily from Oshkosh, so I'm not the best at some of the ordinances, but we did try and make some formatting changes. So I also did the food, what is it, land management and food tab. And while those are awesome combined, I think that maybe they'd be more beneficial separated or having subcategories of each other. And then we looked at things like on the site for there, it still had the old street for the community gardens, I believe. I think it says on there, it says it's at Sherman Road or something. So we provided updated locations and links for those as well. So we're trying to do a combination, but not change too much of the formatting right now, because from my understanding, doing some major formatting can cost a good amount of money.
Misty, you were,
You go ahead, Margie. Actually, I'll just tag onto that before I say what I was going to say earlier. And that is that, Pat, yes, we are also talking about adding links to like the beekeeping ordinance and chickens and ducks and, all part of the goal here is so residents can find that information more readily. So if there's anything particular that any of you want to see added, by all means, just throw it in the chat and let the students know, because they're still working on their final report. So.
point of order here, Brandon. I see we are getting some feedback in chat. We're not to be doing that tonight. We're to be saying that out loud, right? So, Brad, I'm going to call on you to actually make your statement, and we won't be putting things in chat unless it's a technical issue tonight.
Oh, sure. Sorry about that.
That's quite all right. I think you weren't here yet when we mentioned that.
I just wanted to say I would agree. I think sometimes the information can be a bit buried within the city's website. And I think folks that are coming to the page looking for that information, as the students mentioned, it would be helpful if that's pretty upfront on that list of resources and readily available, as Misty has said. So many thanks to Alyssa, Lisa, and Jacob for giving this page and this list of resources a thorough review.
I totally agree. I do have a question, Alyssa, right? Not Elisa, Alyssa. Okay. You showed the water tab, but I assume that between the three of you, you did this for all the tabs that popped up in resources, or no?
So under the resources tab, there's technically 8 sections, but 2 of them are not really things that need to be edited. They're like community engagement examples and participation for 2 of them. So we did the 6 bulk tabs: the energy, transportation, recreation, land management, food, water, and energy. So,
Okay.
and I just want to make a comment too. One thing that we discussed was, so what the resource tab seems like when we were looking at it was examples of different things kind of happening in Oshkosh for those sections, but not necessarily all of it. So including more links on what's included under those sections, but also providing the incentives directly underneath it would be helpful, or having a general incentives tab. Because as it stands, that water section didn't have the water credit under it at all. So putting it just a nice bulk area into one section seemed beneficial to us.
Is that going to be included in your report?
Yes.
Okay. And I assume that you will be providing us with a report of all the different links for all the different tabs and all your feedback, right? You were just able to give us a little portion of it tonight?
Yeah, we knew you have a whole meeting and we didn't want to bog it down. So just a general summary of how the report will be, we'll have a nice written out with kind of summaries and examples, and then we'll provide appendices for each of those sections with the current links, comments, and then additional links that we're suggesting or format changes.
Okay, thank you. Misty, did you have something else?
Alyssa, I just was going to ask Alyssa and the crew to talk about the format of the document that they're going to provide, and that just happened. So done.
Great minds think alike. Is there anybody else on the board who has any? Michelle?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure to say thank you for all of your hard work on this because this is something that has come up at least once a year, if not more. We're like, oh yeah, we really need to pay attention to that because we'll notice that something's outdated. And we try to put in some suggestions to move things, but we don't get an intensive look at all the areas. It's kind of just as it comes up, we see these different things, occasionally, like Margie said, we did an overhaul a little while ago, which took a bit to get updated. So this is really helpful for us and the city of Oshkosh for people looking to do more sustainable things. So thank you.
Totally. Anybody else on the board have any other comments? Okay. Do any of the students have anything additional they'd like to add? I think we lost Lisa totally from what I see. Jacob, did Alyssa cover everything correctly for you?
Yes, I think she did a fantastic job.
Well, I just
Thank
want to
you,
say
Alyssa.
thank you very much for listening to us today. Any feedback? I think Brandon, Misty, Brad, lots of people have our emails, so feel free to reach out if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. And just really thank you for the positive feedback. We were a little worried that this was going to be a lot thrown at you guys, and it's just really encouraging to hear that what we're doing is helpful and not just one-sided. So.
Well, we do definitely appreciate it. It may be a lot when we see the whole document. I don't know yet. But it's nice to have this.
Thanks for the presentation, guys. I know there was the question, I think from Misty, maybe in an email, about this kind of being a partnership going forward with the sustainability students. And I was able to confirm with my boss that is a definite possibility. And I think something that we should entertain going forward.
With these particular students? You mean each semester? Oh, yes. We've been doing that for several years.
Yeah, he would just be referring to the capstone in general because the three of us are graduating seniors, but we're always looking
You're out of here, babe.
We'll see how far I get, but yeah.
Lori. Lori, I think you're muted.
I was trying to use the space bar trick, but it kept doing both. So I just had a follow-up question, and it's regarding static websites and the nature of how dynamic information is. I'm wondering if the students talked at all about whether or not a sustainable Oshkosh app with the same content edited do you think, because we talked to, or you mentioned folks want to be able to find this information easily, and I guess I'm just curious what your thoughts are about static website versus an app or a link to an app for all things sustainable Oshkosh.
I'm just digesting on that for a second. I think one thing that we maybe talked about was finding this section once you know about it isn't that hard, but going to the homepage, going to services, scrolling down, and then knowing that sustainable Oshkosh is where you're going to find those resources is maybe a bit complicated. I'm not sure investing resources into an app is what needs to be done. That sounds like it might be a lot of work for maybe not a lot of benefits at this time because you don't know if that's what people really want. I think just making sure they can find that information easy enough would be the first step before you put those resources into an app. I don't know, Jacob or Misty.
Yeah, I agree. It could have some very nice benefits, but also there's the idea of then people would have to be aware of the app, and rather than just some of these things are like one-off. If they just want to have, if they want to get the information, then they'll have it versus something to return to repeatedly that they would like an app.
Good feedback, good feedback. And maybe it's a matter of asking IT if they would consider rotating on the front website, there were some revisions with the badges and the icons. And I think they used primarily those that were most frequently accessed. But I wonder if we could somehow add like a spotlight for a month of different ones that are less utilized because maybe people don't know about them. That's good questions. Thank you.
I think that's a fantastic idea. Even just providing it as one of those floating through advertisements on the homepage. Because when we were first looking up this, actually, we couldn't figure out how to get to it. We used the search and then looked up the word sustainable, and that's how we got to the site. And then after clicking through a bunch of stuff, we were able to find how to actually get there. And that was one of our key things in the conclusion is, I think the major issue right now is just the promotion of it, is people don't know it exists. And if they do, it's maybe a little complicated to get to.
Eric?
Oh, sorry. Before Eric does, someone from IT would like to speak.
Okay, IT?
Yeah, this is Tony from IT, and I'm listening to that and digesting it a bit. One of the things I can say is maybe we can actually put that into a hot topic tile that goes through.
We can't understand you. It sounds like we're going through the drive-through at McDonald's. Is there some way you can help that out?
Does this sound a little better?
Much better, thank you.
Okay. One of the things I would suggest is actually adding it as one of the hot topic panels so that it rotates through in the hot topic section of the homepage. I know we do have Sustainable Oshkosh right under government in the menu system also. But I'm more than happy to work in a collaborative effort with the board a lot of these enhancements that you guys are looking at. And I look forward to seeing the final report also.
Good, thank you. I think Eric had his hand up before Brad did. Eric?
I have a little bit of a hard time hearing IT, but I haven't been on the Oshkosh website a whole lot. I find it a little bit frustrating myself. Are there links on like the water department or anything for sustainability? You go to pay your bill. Oh, hey, here's how to save money on bill and stuff like that. Something like that can even increase the amount of traffic to the website quite a bit for not much more than just a little catch. I haven't been on like the Oshkosh web for quite a while, so.
Is that something you can comment on, Tony?
I believe we have references to some of the water consumption tools that can be used, as well as soon we'll be launching the AquaHawk application and some other tools for the consumers.
But nothing that directly links to our sustainable side, or the fact that Oshkosh has sustainability as a committee.
Well, I know that it's listed on the boards and commissions, so it is there. The committee presence is listed.
I know it is listed that way. I guess I was referring to like on the water side. I think what Eric was getting at, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, was that when somebody is on the water site looking for something, would they also be linked back to have a way to get to the sustainable site to find out other ways to use less water or make it more efficient or anything like that? Some of the stuff we'd have on our water tab.
Yeah, and I certainly think that would come forward with the final SAB recommendations so that we don't piecemeal solutions in and we don't miss some of the possible updates that are being requested.
Okay, you got that, Alyssa, right? Be sure that's in the report.
Yeah, I was just looking at the water tab from the city of Oshkosh, and I was just clicking through the links, and it doesn't seem that there's anything that connects the two areas.
But what Tony just said was if you put that in a report, then he would know to add that.
Yep, I can make a note of that.
Okay. Brad, you had your hand up. Did you still have something to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of give another plug as someone who is constantly trying to get sustainability moved onto a more front-facing homepage of websites. I would encourage that that sustainability information kind of gets moved up in priority.
Thank you. Lori?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that there's a little known page, and more folks are finding it about the utility accounting under services. And when you're on the utility accounting page, you can see to the left, there are things like ways to detect a leak, the leak adjustment program. And at the bottom, there's a link to the conservation brochure. But I appreciate the, and there's things like calculate your bill, but I appreciated the remarks about also making it obvious how to get credits for the rain barrels and the rain gardens. I know if you do a general search for rain barrel credit, you can find it. But I love the fact that you guys are thinking broader than just what's there.
It's good to have fresh eyes on this, and young eyes don't hurt any either. So you see so much more than we do because you haven't been looking at it for 10 years for one thing. Okay, is there anything else anyone would like to add? Okay, well, with that, I think we will tell you our sincere thanks. We're very anxious to see the report, as always. And you'll have to check back on the site in another 3 or 6 months, no matter where you are. You can do that from anywhere in the world, you know, and let us know what you're thinking then. Don't be afraid to stay in touch with us too. Thank you.
Thanks, Margie, for letting them present, and thanks to Brandon for the time he spent with them as they prepared this. So we appreciate everyone's help on this.
Thank you. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, moving on then, we will next go to our duck ordinance discussion. I assume everyone has had a chance to look that over at this point. I know that Brandon, with a little help from some friends, spent a lot of time on creating this for us. So I hope everybody took the opportunity to look it over ahead of time. It is very similar, I think, to our chicken ordinance, but obviously it's been restructured because it's a different critter we're talking about. Brandon, is there anything you'd specifically like to point out in here? Hi, Brandon, you still with us? There you are.
Yeah. Just trying to, I like to turn my video off because it seems to increase, it seems to make everything better work for me. So, and then I feel like I should turn it back on when I talk. Anyways, so the only kind of loose end that I didn't get tied up, I needed to have a conversation with the building inspectors about the proximity of the duck enclosure, duck coop to the residential property or to an accessory structure. We had talked about the it's more desired to have those enclosures closer to the buildings to help protect against the wind and stuff. I just needed to double check with the building inspectors to see if they have a problem with us kind of manipulating what the rules are. There's things that are in place because of fire code. So if they're okay with it, we could potentially change number, I think it was 11, in the standards of practice, maybe.
You said it must, also meet accessory structure setbacks, which I believe you said were 5 feet, right?
Yeah.
And that seemed excessive. Bob do you have something to share on this, Bob?
I didn't get a chance to talk to the building inspectors yet, so that's the only thing I need to kind of tie up.
Sure. Just to make sure, you're talking about proximity to other structures like neighbor structures or proximity from the back of the house to like the garage and property lines and such, correct?
Yeah, I mean, like the proximity to neighboring properties is pretty hard lined. I don't think we're going to change that. That's
Sure.
going to be the same as the chicken ordinance. But the one difference between the chicken and duck ordinances was the potential to allow these enclosures up against the building, or a couple inches off or something, rather than 5 feet for
Sure.
that fire code requirement.
The fire code requirement was that it be 5 feet, but that makes it not possible to stick it in an inside corner of your outdoors, not putting it inside, of course, but for additional, I don't know, protection against the weather or whatever. Or it would mean if somebody had a side yard, for example, has sidewalk running up there, they may have to set it on the other side of the sidewalk, way far away from the house, where that didn't seem to be as efficient overall as it might be. The other thing is that the ducks don't really have anything that's fire creating about them. I didn't say that very well, but you know what I mean. So, and that may be something that we want to be sure and share with zoning and the fire department too, is that these critters are water animals that don't do a whole lot with fire. So other than that, was there anything else in here? I don't think there was, Brandon. That was really the only thing we had discussed. Okay, Pat has a question.
Just curious, I think there's a prohibition on slaughter of the ducks in the city. This doesn't interfere with any hunting rules with ducks, does it? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the hunting rules are. I don't go hunting, but just curious.
I don't think it possibly could it? I mean, if somebody's going to shoot the duck in your yard, you've got another issue with them.
No, that's prohibited.
The way it's said about slaughter of ducks is prohibited within the city. So is shooting a duck without a hunting license considered slaughter? Aren't you allowed to shoot wild ducks on the lake?
Oh, I see what you're saying. They're saying that you cannot slit their throats and turn them into meat.
Okay, so is that clear enough in that you're talking about the ducks you own on your own property, not that you're going hunting on the lake? Is that, I don't know,
Your thoughts?
Clarified, or is that assumed?
Okay, let's let Bob talk.
Everything that I've read about this would lead me to believe that it's about keeping ducks on our properties, and it does not relate to the hunting of ducks. So, so that's just my reading of this, and I would say it would be highly illegal to hunt ducks within the city limits of our neighborhoods and everything. So, there'd be several violations there, probably more so with the use of a firearm not being used in in a correct situation. So, that's just my comments on that. Brandon, on the bottom of the first page, it's number 2, letter C. I think we talked about this before, but it says "and or chickens" in that line there. Are chickens meant to be in that line?
Where it says maximum combination of 4 ducks and or chickens are permitted. So if you had already had 2 chickens, you could only have 2 ducks according to this ordinance.
Right.
Does this mean we're going to need to change the chicken ordinance in some way?
Okay. That was my question. I was leading to that. Thank you.
Yeah, and that exact same part in the chicken ordinance will need to be edited. Okay. So they read so they're the same.
Okay. And how did we conclude that 4 would be the maximum for fowl in our yards, as opposed to 3 chickens and 3 ducks or something?
We just felt that 4 birds was the maximum.
And who decided that and why?
Me and Steven. That was just kind of, I mean, we can definitely discuss it.
Bob?
Sure. So I guess my question would be, not every property is the same, correct? I mean, we might have a property that has a very long property line that's 200 feet, um, versus like my property where I have 4 chickens. I would never want to add any more, fowl to mine because I have a very small property, so that wouldn't be a good use of my space with chickens and ducks. But if someone who has, a larger swath of property, I would think that, um, let's say there's 2 separate enclosures. Let's say there's a duck enclosure and there's a chicken enclosure. Uh, you know, those could be rationale to to having more than 4 of each. Would I guess would is that
The county only allows 6 chickens.
okay?
So if you live like I live in the town of, if I wanted to have chickens, I can only have 6 because there's no town ordinance that overrules the
Okay.
county. So I think even if in any capacity, if we were to somehow get it increased at all, I don't think we'd be able to go above 6.
So then you're saying as it relates to 6 chickens in an urban area of the county, or because I'd be, I mean, that's not related to a farm, because a farm I've been to where they've had several chickens, well over 6.
Yeah, I think it would depend on the zoning, and what would be allowed in the zoning. What the permitted uses would be for the particular zoning. Like a farm would be agricultural, so there might be some other allowments that are had there.
Anybody else have thoughts on quantities? Personally, I'd like to see us change that to 6 ducks or chickens. Thinking that people probably, well, I don't think anybody's going to put more critters on their property than they think it will hold, but I could be wrong. Other opinions? Michelle?
Do we have, just based on what we've written here for the duck ordinance, like a certain amount of, I know we have like enclosure space and running space and things like that, but the idea of what they need total for space, so that we can say, okay, well, a max of 4 chickens or ducks for properties of up to, this acreage or lot size, just is there a reason for the smaller, is there a way we can connect it to the size of the property, I guess is my question. Or would that make sense?
I think the majority of the city lots are roughly 40, 50, or 60 by 100 or 120 feet. And so I think, and I wasn't here when the chicken ordinance was created, but I would assume that based on the majority of what the lot sizes are, they came to the determination to have it be 4. But I don't disagree that if someone has a larger lot, there are larger lots within city limits, that a provision could be applied that allows additional birds based on square footage available.
That would be my recommendation, would be to base it on lot size up to a maximum.
So I can take those recommendations back to our department and see what can be done.
That would make sense. Go ahead, Bob.
Sure. By chance, do we know how many properties have chickens that they've taken out permits for chickens?
Yeah, we keep track of all that. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I can definitely provide that to you if you wanted to know that. Is that something you would like me to do, Bob?
Yeah, I think that would be good. I mean, just for us to know, we know that people aren't going to rush out and go get ducks, just like they didn't rush out and go get chickens and do all
Yeah.
of that stuff. I mean, the first ordinance for chickens, there was a significant barrier that reduced people to going out and getting that, and in the last 2 years we've removed that barrier. That was that you needed the permission of all of your neighbors on all sides to to be able to go forward with that. But it would be good to know just how many how many households are actually doing this now. So
Yeah, like as you know, because you're part of it, Bob, it's permitted, so we can easily just run a report and pull those chicken permits and see how many there are. So I can provide that information to you, no problem.
and I'll try to update my permit for next year this month right away.
That would be a good idea, Bob. I think that what collectively I've heard and what would make sense to me is that we changed this to say something about the maximum combination being 6 ducks or chickens, but based on average small lot. Of course, it depends too. I mean, I live on a half an acre. Isn't very big, so I have a lot more yard, whereas I could live on a half acre and have a humongo house and have no yard. And that's probably what Bob's problem is. His house is just too big for that lot, but I'm kidding. But,
yeah, I would say
so it needs to be,
we would base the area on what we call,
the pervious surface.
Pervious surface, yeah. So we would be able to pretty easily calculate that, and we could determine it off that square footage or something.
Yeah, I think that would be excellent. Other thoughts on this, anyone? Okay, well then I think that because
actually, may I just
yes,
one
Bob.
more? Sure. So trying to do this without incriminating myself here. So which I'm just going to do anyway. So so my chickens that I have, we got as chicks. I mean, 3-day-old chicks, and so we actually brought them up in our house. We had a very attentive enclosure that we built in our house and took care of it and everything. I'm not advocating for ducks and chickens to be in, to live in one's house, but I think there's an argument where at the age that you get them, sometimes it may be more beneficial to keep them in your house until they've hit a certain point, and they're very manageable, till they get to a point where they can safely be out on their own in their enclosure and stuff. So the reason I bring it is that there's a spot in here that talks about, and this may be different related to ducks as well. So, but where they cannot be kept or maintained on a vacant lot or inside a residential structure, including basements, porches, garages, sheds, and similar structures. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know anyone who's brought in baby chicks who started them off outside. So, I think in order for everyone to be more comfortable with the ordinance as it is, so that they don't feel like they're going to violate a law or an ordinance and that they're going to get in trouble for it, it might be good to see if we can work in some language about, a proximity of time of being able to keep, baby ducks.
Like an incubation period or something.
Correct. Yep. So if we could look for some language that is supportive of that, I think that might go well here as well. So
Thank you for that.
Pat, did you have something else to share? Can't.
Margie, you keep calling me Pat.
Oh, Vic, you have something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so just 2 things. One of them is going to be small. But on the first page, under definitions, number 3, it says duck keeper means a person who owns or has charge of one or more ducks on his or her property. I would recommend changing that to their property, just to be more inclusive. We don't mention his or her anywhere else in the document, so honestly, it feels kind of weird. And then my other.
Could you, I'm trying to write this all down. Could you just repeat
Sure.
that section again for me?
Yeah. So page 1, section B, number 3.
Okay.
Just changing the term his or her to their. And then I have a second. On the second page for standard of practice number 5, we have duck pond shall have a water feature to replicate a pond, such as a plastic tub filled with water. Do we have like a minimum size of the water feature? Because like a plastic tub could be like a massive tote, or it could be like a Tupperware container. So I just didn't know if there were any.
You tell me. I'm not the duck expert.
I'm not either. I don't have ducks.
I think that most people who were wanting to raise ducks would realize that it needs to be more like a small child swimming pool than it does a Tupperware bowl. But I don't really
replicate pond. You know, you would think that they.
Right, but we put very specific numbers down in number 7, like 8 square feet in area or 4 square feet in area per duck, whichever is greater. But then for water, we just say a tub. It just feels very generic when in other places we've been very specific. So I don't know if
I would be okay with adding something like at least such and such size. That's fine. I just need to know what you guys want as far as that number.
Okay, I'll do research on that and then I will send you an email if that works for everyone. Cool.
And
Thank
maybe feature it as so many gallons. Would that make sense since it's water?
I agree. Yeah. That's all I had.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no hands raised either virtually or physically. I see this is on the agenda only as a discussion item tonight, which means we do not need to take action on it, right? Yeah. So we can set this aside for the changes that hopefully we'll get to take another look at it next month, Brandon, right? Hopefully. Yeah. Depending on how things go, I know. Okay, moving on then. Fossil fuel divestment. We also have an updated resolution for that. Has everyone had a chance to read this over? I know that some of you had submitted some changes to Brandon last month after our discussion, and I believe those have been incorporated. If there is anything else that anyone would like to question, change, delete, whatever on here, now would be the time to mention it. Bob?
Sure. So I've been having some discussion about the path that this resolution takes. Well, I've been trying to have it with the finance director, but I've recently had a conversation with the chair of the Long Range Finance Committee, and they're currently working on, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, an investment policy, correct? You know, or not? So, okay, so that's something that they're discussing right now, in regards to how to handle investments that the city of Oshkosh partakes on. So that's one thing, and what I'm going to get to is potentially some language that we can put forward that this be involved or be part of that investment policy as well. I do know that earlier this week, the Long Range Finance Committee had a conversation about this resolution, about how it potentially related to the investment policy that they're working on creating. So at that time, it was kind of, I don't think it was really given a fair shake at that time. It wasn't on their agenda. They weren't really fully looking at the resolution that you guys were, that we were putting forward. So, so I think if we were to put in something in here that says, therefore it be resolved that the Sustainability Advisory Board of the City of Oshkosh requests that the Long Range Finance Committee look at this resolution and look for ways to implement it into an investment policy, or look for ways to implement it on its own. So, or even asking for their support of this policy as well. So.
And how does that differ from what we have at the very last paragraph, Bob?
Well, the very last paragraph doesn't really, hold on, I'm looking, there's two of them here. So suggests that municipal government of the city of Oshkosh seek out. So it's more, it becomes more specific because you're putting it to a certain committee that's part of their task. That's what they're tasked to do, is to look at the long range elements of this type of stuff. So the only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't say it specifically to the Long Range Finance Committee. So, and here's the logic in that, is that if you don't say that it's going to go to them, it doesn't necessarily have to go to them. It can go right to the council. So it all depends on, I guess, where we want feedback to come from in regards to that. Maybe that's the discussion here, Margie, is do we want the Long Range Finance Committee to look at this and see if there's ways to incorporate the divestment of fossil fuels into the works of the city. It could be a strategy move. So if you don't feel that the Long Range Finance Committee is going to pass something like this, it could go right onto the council then. I personally feel that the Long Range Finance Committee wants to hear this and they want to talk about this resolution. So.
Okay. I'm just wondering if we could reasonably come up with some verbiage for an additional paragraph there that would take care of that, and we could go ahead and approve this to send it on its way. I have a concern that they're going to just go ahead and do stuff and not, that we'll never get this to them. So what am I trying to say here? I'm wondering if it's better to go ahead and pass this and get it on the move somewhere, or if it's better, are you suggesting we maybe hold it another month and work out another paragraph, or should we just write one?
No, I'm suggesting that we pass it tonight, and we don't even have to write another thing in here. To be honest with you, we can pass this as is tonight, and then implore Brandon. Sorry to put you on the spot, but implore Brandon to pass it on to the Long Range Finance Committee for their viewing and for their perusal and discussion. So.
Well, and unfortunately, Brandon's only the first step that we have to go through, because you would, correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, but you're going to take it to Mark Lyons, who's going to take it to Alan Davis, who's going to take it to Mark Roloff, who's going to either kick it back to the council or send it to Long Range Finance, right? And your proposed, is that right, Brandon? And did I get that probably right?
Having never experienced anything such as this before, I think your potential observation of how other things have, like this document, have gone, I would assume that that's probably where it would go. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing like putting you on the spot with your first resolution here. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I've never, right, and I don't have anybody to ask that question to. So, I mean, I would assume that what you explained would probably be similar to where and how it would be presented. Alan may not just send it solely to roll-off, but it could probably, at that point, have been distributed amongst multiple department heads, because something like this would affect, I think, all departments, so.
And Bob, your alternate path would be, say that for us.
Well, so the alternate path would be just to have, well, hold on, I want to address something that Brandon said, because I think what Brandon said is very insightful on how stuff like this gets moved around the structures within the city. So I think it's very accurate that where it's going to go in regards to, you know, up the ladder and such. And I think what's different here is that we have the opportunity to designate that we want it to go somewhere else as well, not just within the staff, but within within the community-driven structure of guidance that through the committee system that the council looks at for guidance on stuff like this. So I think that if we don't state that we want it to go to long-range finance, it doesn't necessarily make it there. But I think if we state that we want it to go there, then there's a greater chance. Otherwise, we can also just keep it as it is, and it makes its way to the city council eventually.
Okay, well, I was kind of thinking how to write that. So we could add another paragraph that says, let it be further resolved, because, you know, we love those further resolved things, that the Sustainability Advisory Board of the City of Oshkosh suggests this document be shared with the long-range finance department for their consideration in creating an investment policy or something along those lines.
Sure. I think that's good, because right now the conversation that they had, though brief, was involved where in the sense of where does this fit within our investment policy that they've been working on. I'm going to stop talking for a little bit because I want other people to join in. So
I do too. Does anybody else have any thoughts on this?
go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. Well, this is investment. What about the actual physical end of fossil fuel usage? Because I mean, this, if we're gonna say, okay, we're not gonna give, we're not gonna cut a check to X oil company or X natural gas company or X whatever company. What about the actual usage of their product, however, though? Which I think goes along line with my proposal for the electric and hybrid vehicle conversion of the city too, which would aid in long-term financing as well with cost savings. Obviously, I think proposal would have to, months down the road from now, we'd have to get this on the books first, and this would have to be, I don't know, a rewrite or an add-on or its own standalone proposal, if you will. So I don't know how that would shape out with it.
I agree with what you say, Eric, but I think we have to get this one passed first, all the way through the council, because this could actually happen right away as they're planning, but I don't think that we have the local capacity right now to get rid of all the fossil fuel derivatives that the city uses. I mean, I just don't think there's any way that could happen without a huge investment. This one doesn't cost us anything. It just is a change in direction. Brad, what are your thoughts on this?
I have a couple of thoughts. I mean, I hear Bob's point about sort of figuring out a way that this may either get to long-range finance faster or more directly, or perhaps via two routes, which is perhaps helpful. Related to this is an opportunity for the city to potentially partner with some other UW system institutions on, which is something called a virtual power purchase agreement. And this is something that I don't know if we want to put this on next month's agenda, and I can talk more about that. Or if this is something that I could connect with Bob or somebody offline, and if there's a way that long range finance, would be interested in considering this information. That's just something that I've been working on with the campus, and now with multiple campuses within the UW system.
Did you call that a virtual power purchase investment?
Agreement.
Agreement.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And Margie, yeah, I agree that I think getting this passed is good. So if we can either just come up with the verbiage now, or if we can pass it and figure out a way to expedite it to long range finance, I think that makes sense.
I do have a paragraph written that if you'd like me to read it, maybe we could consider adding this. Okay, I'm going to actually read the last paragraph and then read this right after that to see if you like it. The last paragraph that we have is, let it be further resolved that the Sustainability Advisory Board of the City of Oshkosh suggests that the municipal government of the City of Oshkosh seek out investments in clean technology, renewable energy, sustainable companies and projects, and sustainable communities. Let it be further resolved that the SAB suggests this document also be shared with the Long Range Finance Committee for use in creating or affecting any investment policy the city may consider. Is that where we want to go with this?
Yep, good.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well then would anybody like to make a motion to change it?
Can I make one suggestion?
Absolutely.
Or I want to ask you a question. How come you're choosing to have that after and not before the last further be resolved, the current one? Because
that's where I wrote it on my sheet because I had room. Are you suggesting it would be better to be the first, to be above it?
To be before that last one, the current last one, because the current last one to me reads towards the municipal government, which is what I understand to be the common council. So
yes.
So
it should be shared before it goes to the council, is your point.
Correct.
Okay, that works for me. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that? Okay, would anybody like to make a motion for an amendment?
I'll make a motion to amend the resolution to include the wording that Chairperson Davey just stated to be placed before the last further be resolved.
I'd second that.
Okay, discussion. Wow. Well, would anybody like to vote on that? Let's do it. All in favor of the amendment to the resolution that we have? Say aye.
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 Don't you love this voting online? I mean, it's nuts. Okay, then we need a motion for
Margie,
Bob.
Can you ask if there were any nays, please?
Right.
Thank you. Were there any nays? Anybody opposed? Anybody choosing to abstain? Thank you for the reminder, Bob.
Sure.
So in that case, I think that passed
6-0.
6-7. 7-0. There's 7 of us on here. Who's missing now? Didn't we have 8 before? Oh, no, it's you, Brandon. Okay, yeah.
And your vote counts too, right, Margie?
Yeah, I count.
7-0. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Then I would need a motion to pass resolution 1301 about divesting from fossil fuels as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bob. A second?
A second.
That was Michelle, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion?
I have one thing.
Bob?
Sure. So we were talking about the investment policy that I think Eric and then Brad were kind of alluding to. I haven't seen that policy yet, to be honest with you. So I think right now is the perfect time for that to be, for us to be providing input in regards to that, especially with this resolution. But I think it's also a good opportunity for, say, an advocacy measure from the Sustainability Advisory Board to reach out to members of the Long Range Finance Committee to talk about the investment in solar electricity or wind power or whatever we feel or that the committee has stated through their sustainability plan of what those good measures would be. Because then we're providing them guidance in real time because they're working on this investment policy currently. So, and then we can also, and I'll work on this, I'll encourage them to also provide the Sustainability Advisory Board, us, a copy of that policy so that we might be able to provide our input into that as well, or suggestions that may be beneficial. So, and so that we understand that it's a two-way street, right, in regards to this, and that all of our skills are unique and can increase and the value of the Oshkosh community by working together between committees. So.
What a concept, Bob.
Trying.
Does anybody else have any further discussion on this resolution? Okay, then I would call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone choosing to abstain? Okay, that would pass 7-0. Okay, whoa. I can't tell you how good that feels, guys. I mean, literally, it's been a decade of my life. Okay, maybe it only feels that long. I think it's been 7 years. Okay, Energy Innovation Grant. We did leave this on there, not to put anyone on the spot, Michelle or Brad. We didn't know if there was anything additional to discuss on that. And if not, it's okay.
I can provide a couple quick updates. The university is planning to move forward with a submission. I do know that the Public Service Commission has extended the deadline for questions to December 11th, which is only a few more days, but it does, provide a bit more time. It was originally November 23rd. And basically, this is the Public Service Commission's Office of Energy and Innovation Grant Program. And there are 4 eligible activity sort of areas that school districts, the university system, municipalities can apply for grant funding to seek funding for renewable energy infrastructure, as well as energy planning or modeling. And so if there's someone at the city who would like more information, or I'd be happy to touch base with whoever might be the right person to provide this information to. The deadline for proposals is January 22nd. And I believe they'll announce projects in March, and then the awardees will have about a year to complete the project funded. All projects do need to be paid for upfront, and then the Public Service Commission will reimburse the project in full at sort of a one-time reimbursement payment.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone on the board who feels that they would have the time, energy, and commitment to follow up on this? I'm not sure that we're going to have staff time available for it, although they could certainly provide support. But you guys can think about that. And if you do want any further information on this, I'm sure that either Brandon or Brad would be happy to give you the links to learn more about it and see how doable it might be. I'm not even sure which of us, who of us represented here have had grant writing experience. So I don't want to call anybody out on that or anything, but I also want to remind you that at our January meeting next month, we'll be looking at what we want to do for the upcoming year, what our goals will be. So you might be thinking about that at the same time, you know, I mean, I know it's a real short timeline for this through January 22nd, but I'm just saying, if you're interested, that's awesome. I don't want anybody to overextend themselves because it's been a really trying year. So, which is why I'm not jumping on it myself, frankly. I've had some grant writing experience and it was not exactly a joy. Maybe it's one of those things you love or hate. I don't know, but I don't feel up to it myself right now. Okay, Brandon.
I just have a question for Brad. In your application, I'm assuming you're a part of it. If you could just provide me with, was it a question type of based application, or was it a full-blown you write your own grant proposal type of situation?
Yeah, there's a pretty standard cover sheet that just has some basic information, and then there's a budget kind of line item description worksheet. And then there's a 3-page project summary, and then a up to 15-page sort of full application of kind of a narrative description of the project and then merit review criteria.
Okay, so what I can do is I can ask if some of my time can be allocated to work on this. But yeah, if someone wants to help, you know, I'd be open to entertain that. But I can at least try. So if time permits and I can get it done, I can attempt to do something. I just don't know. Really, I haven't looked into it very much, so I don't even know what the project would be or what in our plan would we want to propose to go forth with.
Brandon, what I could probably help you do is sort of weigh some pros and cons of projects. So, for example, we were looking at a solar project on campus. The solar sort of amount awarded only covers 22% of the total solar installation. Maybe that's not as much of a hurdle for the city as it is right now for the campus. So we're looking at another option. But I could kind of help you maybe kind of dig through some data, run some data analysis, and then kind of figure out what project might make sense.
I will try to email you and maybe we can set up a time to meet.
Sounds good.
Thank you, guys. Okay, anything else on that? Let's move on to social media. How's that been going, people involved?
I mean, it's been fine. If I see like an interesting post, I just send it on and then Brandon shares it. It works out well. I don't know what our engagement on the numbers are because I don't have access to that information. I'm not an admin of the page. Sure, it's better than it has been, but not the best. I would still like to obviously have access to the page, but at least Brandon and I are doing a pretty decent job of communicating. We've got an email chain and I'm sending him stuff when I can.
What we're still not having is the opportunity to interact with a lot of different sites that we could be feeding information to and borrowing from, correct? I mean, because that's actually
about all we are doing, sharing from other pages. So if I see a post that waste management or what have you, there, like DNR, then I take a screenshot of that and then I email that on. Whereas
My
before,
point is, Vic, that we're not tagging them and they're not tagging us. So we aren't getting the additional power of sharing that way. Is that correct?
sure, we're not really tagging anyone, but we are sharing directly from other pages to our page. The reverse is not happening. Yes, because we are no longer creating original content.
We do not have a symbiotic relationship with other people of like mind.
Correct.
To our Facebook.
Parasitic.
Okay, got it.
I am curious if the way that if you guys got the opportunity to see how the agenda was posted, was that sufficient or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Try to do that every month.
Yeah, so sharing more and making the meetings maybe like an event, stuff like that. Like we definitely have room to grow. We can meet again. It's okay.
Vic will send you more info on that, Brandon.
But again, it would just be helpful to have multiple people involved. Brandon and I co-sharing it, just because it is time consuming, and it can be very overwhelming.
So is that another plea for help, Vic? Should we send you stuff?
That would be cool. But also, I just want access to the page.
I know you could do a lot with it. I do understand that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
We're doing better. That's all that matters.
And maybe next month we could have some numbers on what our engagement is, so we'd have a clue. Maybe Vic can talk you through how to find that, Brandon, or something, or I can. We can work on that.
Yeah, I think I can remember how to get those statistics. I don't know. It's kind of a big Excel spreadsheet that gets pumped out, and you got to kind of filter through it. But I think I can remember how to get that data. It's not terribly difficult to do that. So, as probably it isn't to create an event with an agenda. I just don't quite understand how that all jives.
It's fine. Okay, well, we'll put that on our agenda for next month, is having stats on our social media. The main thing that I want to put on next month's agenda, and we are still working short by one person. So another plea to the public, if there is anyone who's interested in joining the Sustainability Board, we do have space for you. Please submit your application on the city website. We would love that. Next month, we'd like to take a look at our goal setting for the entire month, for the entire year of 2021, which we're hoping will be a really wonderful year. We deserve one, don't y'all think? And other items to go on a future agenda. Bob, have you got anything? You're muted.
Hold on one second. I got to bring it up again. So I was approached by the
Citizens Climate Lobby.
Yeah. So about seeing if they were gauging what the council's feeling might be on a carbon cashback, the carbon cashback bill that's floating through Congress at this point. And so I indicated that we might be able to bring their presentation to a future agenda, and either take up one of the local resolutions that have kind of been passing around. Appleton's passed one of these resolutions, and do some type of endorsement of either the bill or writing our own type of resolution as well. But they're willing to come and speak with us at any future meeting. So.
Okay. For those of you who haven't been around as long as Well, I think Bob was around at the time too, but Michelle and I remember when we did have somebody from the Citizens Climate Lobby come and speak to us in 2014 or 15 and gave us a very, very fine presentation. He was a retired judge who had taken this up as his retirement project. More recently, we do have a local chapter of the Citizens Climate Lobby, which actually you all know somebody on that, and some of us know a couple of people on there. It's led by Shannon Davis Faust and Pat Hallquist, and it's been much more active than it had been in 2015 when, after our presentation, I had tried to found one here with somebody from Fond du Lac, and that at that point there wasn't really much interest in it in this area, but now there is. So and so, yes, we can definitely get some kind of a report from them, Bob, on, and Pat, I think this is going to be Kate who's wanting to do this. So just so you know, to share with us what carbon fee and dividend means, which is what the Citizens Climate Lobby is most involved with, and how it's been taken up by Congress. It's got a different name in Congress, but it is a bipartisan bill that they have been working on getting through. Now, one problem with any kind of bill going through Congress is that the longer it takes to get through, the more people you have to have buy-in, because some people don't get reelected and they had signed on and then they're no longer there. So it's kind of been an ongoing process, but this is the closest it's ever been. And yes, we definitely should take a look at that just so we understand it. It'll give us a chance to explain it to people in Oshkosh, because you know everybody watches this, right? And it will also give it some promotion if we can take it to the council and ask for a resolution in support of. So, okay, that, yes, we definitely should consider that, I think, for January too. Is there, let me ask first, is there anything else that anybody sees that we need on the January agenda, other, of course, than the duck ordinance, if we get that ready in time? Brandon?
I had talked about this a couple meetings back. I have been continuously working with some students from MIT on a urban modeling project. I just finally got data from WPS on the city's total usage for 2019, and was able to give those numbers to the MIT students. So that was like the last piece of the information that they needed to complete their model. So I'm assuming at some point when they're done, they want to present that to this board. They're, what they found, what this model looks like. Again, it's a pretty unique thing. We just randomly got selected for it, and it's been kind of a cool experience. So
it's very awesome.
I don't know if that'll be in
Oshkosh on the
January.
map.
What's that?
You're going to put Oshkosh on the map.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty neat. But I don't know if it'll be in January or not, but it's like, because I got that last piece of data, I'm thinking that it'll be soon that they'll be done.
Okay, we'll definitely keep that on our list of future items. Brad?
It sounds like we've got a potentially pretty full agenda for January, but I would just add back in, I can provide some more information and background on that VPPA that I'm hoping UW Oshkosh is going to be entering into. UW Milwaukee has been taking the lead on this.
Well, go back. Tell me what we're talking about here. What were those letters? Oh, is that the virtual power purchase agreement?
Correct. Yep.
Remember. Okay.
Yep. And so this is basically what we're calling a coalition of the willing of UW system schools. But it's also including Milwaukee Area Technical College, as well as some others. So certainly, a municipality could be one of the partners in the virtual power purchase agreement. So I can provide some more information on that. The reason I bring it up now is now is the time to act. UW Milwaukee has been leading this charge for about a year, and they are basically ready to enter into an agreement with a group called Customer First Renewables. And CFR would basically be the middleman in negotiating a purchase of a large renewable energy project for all of the buyers being the UW system schools and partners. And so essentially what we would need to know is the load of each buyer. And it sounds like Brandon just got those WPS data for the city, which is super helpful. And I could also use those data to help him analyze some things for that PSC grant. But this just seems like, and related to Bob's comments about long range finance, this just seems like a really good, kind of very opportune time to talk about this.
Yes, it does. Is there information that you can share with Brandon in time that we could all look it over before the next meeting?
Sure, I can provide some information, in a document that folks can review ahead of time. I do think it helps to have a little bit of an explanation with it, so I might need to present briefly, if that's okay.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's just sometimes easier to assimilate it if we've seen it in writing also, or can follow along.
Yeah. Yep. I do know that the UW system crew wants to have things decided about basically who's going to opt in or not by the beginning of January. So does put a little bit of a tight timeline, and that's why I mentioned, if there's a better group of folks to get this in front of, given the tight timeline, I'm happy to, speak to other folks at the city, whether it's long range finance or someone else, to kind of get this on their plate more quickly.
Bob, do you have thoughts on that? You're muted.
Not knowing enough about it, but in the sense, would it, does it relate to, I mean, it must relate to, some level of financial involvement or
Yes.
how it benefits the city. So I guess, that I would probably run that to, Russ in finance. And if you just send me some information about it, I can send it over to Russ. Or Brandon, how do you want to handle that? So.
Yeah, I think that's fine, Brad. You could send it to Bob and he could pass it to him, or if you want to send it to me, I don't know what the proper way to do that is. I don't quite understand what it is, so
it's basically, sure, I can just really briefly, it is a opportunity for partners to purchase, buy into a renewable energy project. And so it's based on your load size, so how much energy you consume as a customer. Your relationship with your utility does not change. It's that you are funding a renewable energy project and claiming the renewable energy attributes of that energy to offset your usage from the grid.
all right, so then, yeah, I would say that maybe, Brad, if you would be okay with it, it would probably be best if, like, you and me and I set up a meeting with Mark and Alan in my department. We explain to them maybe on a little bit greater detail what you just briefly explained to me, and then they would make the decision as to where it would need to go.
Okay, that sounds good.
That's what I would recommend.
That sounds like a good plan. We'd like to stick to our proper channels as much as we can when we know what they are.
All right.
And I'm sorry, I do have to run, so I'm going to have to hop off.
Well, we're almost done, Brad, but it was good you could make it. Thank you for coming. Okay, the only other thing then, unless somebody had something else for future meetings, Vic does.
Just a question. I know we have a position open. Is that posted anywhere? Is there like a press release, something we could share?
We have a what?
We have the position open on the board.
Oh, got it.
Is that like posted anywhere? Is there a press release or anything? that we could share?
No, it's not. It does show on the city website. If you go in and look at our sustainability board, there will be an application link there. So if you
Yeah.
have somebody in mind, send them there. It's not that we haven't had any submissions. It's just that the timing has been a little off in some cases for people. So
Okay.
it's always good to know more people that are interested. So
Yeah, well, I'll make a Facebook post and I'll send it to Brandon.
excellent. Okay, then. Well, our next meeting will be on Monday, January 4th. Before we adjourn, I do have just one more thing I'd like to say. Oh, who said that? Eric?
We had it, yeah. We were talking before about specific water usage and such. I just did a quick search online. A local hardware store gives specifications for a 45-inch by 7.9-inch depth wading pool at 26.4 gallons for the ducks. You're talking about specific numbers. That's
right. So it's 25 gallon something or other.
It says average 45-inch pool is about 7.9 inches deep, and that gives you 26.4 gallons. So I don't know how exact the city ordinances would need to be, but that's the manufacturer says that it holds its capacity.
Yeah, I think we're looking for like a minimum. So I'll do some more research too, but thank you. Yeah, it does need to be a minimum depth and how many gallons per duck. Cool.
Did you have something with that, Bob, or not? No? Okay. I just wanted to say that I really like all you guys a lot, and I like you to keep coming to the sustainability board meetings. I like everybody in the city, come to think of it, and well, almost everybody. I think the most sustainable thing for all of us to do is to be very careful about social distancing and wearing our masks and washing our hands. And I would encourage everybody to do that for the sustainable, because I want Oshkosh to have fewer deaths. I personally have known 4 people in the last 2 months that have died from COVID, and I don't want it to be any of us. I didn't want it to be them. And I really think that, all politics aside, this is not a partisan thing. This is what we have to do. This is a public health issue, not a political thing. And so once again, I am encouraging everyone, please, if you're not in your own home, wear a mask, stay 6 feet away. Don't go out if you don't need to. Wash your hands when you come in. Just don't be stupid, okay? Or the more positive spin would be, please be smart. With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, good night, everybody. Stay safe.